that is how theScore Esports came to be and how I became your boss. Okay, so you get me a coffee and you two take care of my Christmas shopping.
I can't believe that actually worked. You're pretty much the department janitor.
Shh. Just let me enjoy this. The relationship between esports titles and their in-game stories, or lore, is pretty weird. Some games have almost none. Others had to build a story to justify why the game exists at all.
While we're going to keep on working on Blizzard content as well, we think that there's also this place for Nexus-born content as well.
We've had companies backtrack entirely and rewrite their game's lore from the ground up.
How bad could have the stories really been? On the frozen tundra of Desolia. Oh no.
And in others, the lore is just downright fucking weird. Wait, is that character called Nicotine Caffeine? And they're the chief priest of cocaine?
I do cocaine.
So why exactly is the relationship between these competitive games and the stories they want to tell so bizarre? Well, the first thing to keep in mind is that video games, and particularly some of esports' biggest titles, have very different development stories. MOBAs like Dota 2 or League of Legends have a design that's pretty much set in stone, since both derive from the original Defense of the Ancients. Now, on top of giving each game their own unique identity, lore was used by writers to craft a story that explains or enriches their game systems in some way. In the case of League of Legends, the game had an early story where all the playable characters were summoned by the player. A summoner. According to the lore, it was how city-states in Runeterra, the world in which League of Legends takes place, settled arguments. It was basically like a weird version of the United Nations called the Institute of War, which let you use summoned champions to fight for you instead of engaging in huge wars with world-ending magic. But in 2014, all of this nonsense was scrapped, and many characters underwent reworks.
Well, that was pointless.
Dota 2 spent less time explaining the setting itself and more time on the heroes, particularly to differentiate them from Warcraft 3's characters, even though the connection is both very direct and extremely obvious to anyone who actually played Dota. Now, they definitely amped the lore up to 11 for Artifact.
Ever a resilient people, the Aglodi rebuilt and started again, referring to the razing of their capital as the Bleak Day.
But maybe they should have put that effort into making a game that wasn't dog shit?
Got it!
The thing is, some esports titles came into being with a proud history of already established lore behind them. Games like StarCraft 2 and World of Warcraft had to pick up where the story left off, and make things even more interesting. But I think you could argue that in a couple of cases, it got a little too interesting. Okay, now look, in WoW, we've done all sorts of crazy shit, but in just the last couple of years, a demonic invasion attacked our planet, and we had to build a spaceship to meet up with other space goats that had spaceships, and we used the laser on the spaceship to attack their HQ, where we used the souls of our dead gods to defeat a planet soul, and the big demon with the sword got locked away by the edgelord, but not before he stabbed our planet with a giant sword, except it turns out that our planet is a god, and now it's bleeding. Oh god, what do we do now?
The end is near! We are all gonna die!
So yeah, over time, WoW's story has upped the stakes, but it's a long way from where it started. And speaking of lore that's gotten out of hand, it would be a crime not to mention Blizzard's sort of dead MOBA, Heroes of the Storm. A game that strongly implies that the characters who die in WoW are sent to the Nexus to fight in a hellish purgatory.
Varian Rin will remain a hero.
There is no point to anything, and you're just gonna die. So do whatever.
But sometimes when lore isn't explicitly given to fans, they weirdly fiend it enough to like theory craft it themselves. Like, if you've ever played Rocket League, you've definitely wondered, who is driving the cars? Why are they playing with an explosive ball? And why are the matches being watched by a stadium full of eggs? Now, even though the game's creators have an idea, it's never been revealed to fans. And at the end of the day, who cares? As long as it's fun.
Are you not entertained?
Fighting games are notorious for having lore with little effect on gameplay. But perhaps the weirdest of all is Tekken. Tekken takes place in a world where the control of a massive Japanese Zaibatsu is determined by who kicks the most ass. Oh, and nothing makes sense. It's also probably the only game where you could make an entire montage video out of just people being thrown off of cliffs.
Long live the king.
Shit. Did I leave the stove on?
And getting thrown into a volcano didn't kill Kazuya somehow. Because lore. Even Counter-Strike Global Offensive couldn't resist getting bogged down in lore. Like, this is a game that takes place in the real world. So why do we care what our generic T or CT enjoys after detonating or defusing a bomb?
So, we gonna get some ramen or what?
Well, apparently Valve thinks you care, because in the new Operation Shattered Web, you can unlock custom agent skins. Which, on a side note, is a fucking terrible idea.
This game, they need to fix it.
Honestly, who cares about adding personality to CSGO in 2019? Especially when the biographies in question are pretty bad.
Initially underestimated, Special Agent Ava soon became her team's ultimate secret weapon. The way she sees it is nothing compared to growing up with 4 older brothers in New Jersey. Special Agent Ava takes pleasure from the simple things: clean winds, cold beer, and turning bad guys into thin crust pizza pie.
If anyone could explain to me how to use a gun to turn bad guys into thin crust pizza pie, that would be great. Now look, maybe we're wrong for blaming Valve for wanting fans to have a more personal connection with CSGO. In Rainbow Six Siege, each of the operators has a distinct personality and backstory, which has helped the game cater to a broader global audience.
Nope.
But we can't let Ubisoft off the hook either. See, technically all of these operators belong to Team Rainbow, both the ones attacking and defending, yet they routinely kill each other in the game. Why? Now, there were plenty of theories, and the use of the term OPFOR seemed to suggest that the multiplayer modes were a training exercise, which was confirmed in a video short by Ubisoft.
Attention all operators, 30 seconds remaining in the scenario.
So when you fight against other players in casual or ranked, just a simulation. Didn't actually happen. Tell that to my fucking elo. But when you play the tutorials or situations against AI terrorists,
We confirm numerous casualties due to the release of an unidentified biochemical weapon.
that happened. And when you fought an alien virus in New Mexico as part of the Outbreak event, yeah, that also happened. Overwatch, on the other hand, tried something a little different than other competitive games of this scale. Instead of a story mode, it drip-fed the player the lore. Through character interactions...
You sure take to this bad guy thing easily, don't you? And you sure know how to play Boy Scout. Hi.
Special in-game events, and beautifully produced CGI shorts.
Jesse McCrae. Been a while. You promised you'd write.
Well, Ash. I've been kind of busy.
Sure, this strategy was risky and had some missteps. But because fans were receptive to it, Overwatch 2 will now feature story content as soon as it launches. So yeah, lore is great because you can literally apply it to anything. It's the source of inside jokes that give game worlds and characters their own unique identity. And of course, sometimes it can be pretty fucking ridiculous. But honestly, you can pretty much say that about anything in life.
Alright, so what does your lore say about Josh and Miles? Where did they go?
Well, that's actually a really interesting story. So Josh and Miles discovered a time machine, went back to the early 90s and became the greatest pro wrestling tag team of all time.
What? That didn't really happen.
I know, but isn't that more interesting than me just keeping them in the trunk of my car?
What?
But maybe they should have put all that effort into making a game that wasn't dog shit. Okay, no, hold on, one more time. But maybe they should have put all that effort into making a game that wasn't dog shit. But maybe they should have put all that effort into making a game that wasn't dog shit. Hold on, let me go again. But maybe they should have put all that effort into making a game that wasn't dog shit. But maybe they should have put all that effort into making a game that wasn't dog shit.